I need you to stop whatever you're doing right now and pay attention to this date. June 16th, 2006. An 18-year-old boy came off the bench at the World Cup for the very first time and scored his first ever World Cup goal. His name was Lionel Messi. Now, keep that date in your head. June 16th, 2026. Exactly 20 years later, the same man, on the same date, at the World Cup, scored a hat trick, broke the all-time World Cup scoring record, and became the greatest World Cup player in the history of football. Same date, 20 years apart. You cannot write this. You cannot script this. This is Lionel Messi, and this is the Verdict FC. Let's go back to June 16th, 2006. Germany, the World Cup. Argentina were playing Serbia and Montenegro. The score was already 6-0 when a teenage Messi came off the bench in the 74th minute. He had 16 minutes to make an impression. He didn't waste them. A quick turn, a burst of pace, a finish. His first ever World Cup goal. He was 18 years old. He weighed 67 kilograms. He had only just become a regular starter for Barcelona that same season. Nobody knew his name outside of Spain and Argentina. After the game, journalists asked the Argentina coach about the teenager. He said, I quote, "We have to protect him. He is too young to carry this burden." Too young, too fragile, too much pressure. That was June 16th, 2006. Now, June 16th, 2026. The same tournament, the same stage. But nothing else is the same. The boy is now 38 years old and just 1 week away from his 39th birthday. He doesn't weigh 67 kilograms anymore. He doesn't need anyone to protect him. Argentina played Algeria, and Messi, in his first game at his 6th World Cup, scored a hat trick. 3 goals in 1 game. At 38 years old. It was the first hat trick of his entire World Cup career. It made him the oldest player in history to score 3 goals in 1 World Cup game. And then, 5 days later, against Austria, he scored his 17th and 18th World Cup goals, passing Miroslav Klose, breaking a record that had stood for over a decade. 18 World Cup goals, the most in the history of men's football. On June 16th, 2006, a boy scored his first World Cup goal and nobody knew his name. On June 16th, 2026, the same man scored his 14th, 15th, and 16th World Cup goals, and the entire planet stopped to watch. Same date, 20 years apart. Now, let me show you the full picture, because the date is just the beginning. In 2006, Messi was playing in his first World Cup. In 2026, he is playing in his 6th, a record no man has ever achieved. In 2006, he had 0 World Cup goals. In 2026, he has 18, the most in history. In 2006, journalists said he was too young to carry the burden. In 2026, he already won the World Cup 4 years ago. He has nothing left to prove. And that is exactly why he is playing the best football of his life. Here is the number that I think about most. Messi has been involved in 12 goals in his last 6 World Cup matches. 10 goals, 2 assists, at 38 years old, at a tournament where most players peak at 26 or 27. The science of football says this should not be possible. The biology of the human body says this should not be possible. And yet, here we are. Same man, same tournament, 20 years later, better than ever. So here is the final verdict. What happened on June 16th, 2026 was not just a football match. It was the closing of a circle that started exactly 20 years before. A boy who scored his first goal in 2006 became a man who broke every record in 2026. On the same date. At the same tournament. As if the football god sat down and wrote the ending of the story a long time ago. Messi did not become the greatest World Cup player of all time by accident. He became it by spending 20 years refusing to be anything less. And if you are lucky enough to be alive and watching right now, appreciate it. Because you will never see anything like this again. That is my verdict. If this story gave you goosebumps, hit subscribe. Because this World Cup is writing new chapters every single day, and we are here to break every single one of them down. See you in the next one.